What's up everyone, I am back. I am talking Disney today. Specifically, I am talking about the attractions role on the CEP programme. Just before I start, can we just appreciate Primark's game is so strong at the moment. This t-shirt over here, I got some Mickey earrings and they've got like a Pride one as well. And I got this shirt as well. And it's just how I like it because it's all subtle, but then it's just like a little talk to me about Stitch. You know how I roll with that Disney merch. I like it subtle but not too subtle. Anyway, let's get on to talking about the attractions role. So, you find out your role when you get your acceptance letter. You never find out where you are specifically. So, for example, I knew I was in attractions, but I didn't know what park I was in or what rides I would be on. You don't get to pick your ride, you are assigned a ride, and you normally find that out on Discovery Day for Epcot. I don't know what it's called in other parks, but it's basically your park-specific training day. So during traditions you get your general traditions, then your role-specific ones. So I had Welcome to Operations, and then you get your day in the park, and that is where you find out where you are. So when they talk about attractions, they are talking about the rides in the 4 main parks. I don't think you can work on an attraction at a water park, I think that's for lifeguards, but it also covers ESPN World of Sports and also main gate operations, so the ones that are greeting you when you're coming in and when you're scanning your magic band or your card or whatever, the people you first meet when you enter the park. You're normally trained on a group of attractions, so for example I was trained on Journey into Imagination with Figment and the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival. I also covered Illuminations, but that is something that's quite specific to Epcot's Future World, so people that worked the land also did Illuminations. But similarly, I know people that were on more attractions. I know people that worked in the Tomorrowland theatres and they did, I think it was Stitch, Carousel, Monsters Inc. and something else, I believe. So obviously they had quite a range there, but then my roommate only worked on Soarin' specifically. So it can vary quite a lot depending on where you are. You can also pick up something called a pack shift. I think some people are scheduled for these, but if you are working in attractions, you are eligible to do any pack shift that is available. Pack refers to parade control shifts. So for example, while I worked in Epcot, I also did shifts in Magic Kingdom doing Happily Ever After, and I also did the 4th of July. But these are things that you choose to pick up. You only do them if you want an extra shift. And they do tend to be quite short shifts as well. So you kind of have to weigh up, if you're not used to going to Magic Kingdom, kind of weigh up the travel, because Magic Kingdom is the furthest away from the majority of the housing, and I've got to be honest, the transport to Magic Kingdom, or more so the transport from Magic Kingdom, is quite specific, and I will talk about that in a transportation specific video, but just know that it's not the easiest park to get to and it's not the quickest journey. All of my knowledge is attraction specific, so I can't talk about the operations side. I can't talk about the tram drivers at ESPN or the main gate. I don't know what that's like. But I can speak for the rides. So when you are on a ride, you learn all the positions in the ride, which is great for variety, and you will find there are some positions that you will not enjoy. However, there are also a lot of positions that you really look forward to, and they will vary vastly from the people around you. I know people that hated, absolutely despised being on something called Doctor of Directions, and it was my favourite role. So you rotate around your grouping, so the Imagination Pavilion for me, every 45 minutes. You're not necessarily stuck on one ride, so I could have been on iMag, which is Figment, for like 45 minutes, and then I'm randomly pulled over to the Magic Eye Theatre, and then I'm pulled back to iMag. Like, it just depends on luck and who's pulling what at what time. So basically, how people get positions and rotate, etc. is they are all on a system on the computer and they will pull a specific position. One of the other girls got this slip that says, please take over position, iMag Doctor of Directions, and it has the time that you were given it. So now this person had to come to Doctor of Directions position and relieve the cast member, which in that case was me, from that position, so I received the slip. Then I take this slip, I go back to the break room and I pull a different assignment. So that assignment could be anything from relieving another position so they can go on a break, or if it's closer to the hour, you're more likely to pull what's called a rotation. So a rotation is a set order. So if I pull rotation, that means I start at basically the start of the ride. So for Figment it was Spark in the Dark, which is unload, and for Magic Eye Theatre it was Glasses, and then that means that whenever rotation is pulled, unless someone is going on a break, you just move down the positions. It's a very complicated way of working, but trust me, like, it gets really simple once you work it out, and the whole team works on the same system, so people can always help you out if you're like, oh my god, I've pulled this position, I don't know where it is, I've forgotten what it is, but you're trained separately on each position. You won't get to remove your Earning My Ears tag until they know you're comfortable in the position, so don't worry, you're not going to be left on your own on a position you don't know. It's all very well thought out, it's Disney at the end of the day. They're not going to let someone that doesn't know what they're doing be on a position. Or losing my voice. You do have an assessment at the end of your training, but it's nothing to worry about. It's just to make sure that you know obviously all the safety procedures and how to work your ride, but by that point you've had so much training, like, don't worry, it's really not that stressful. I went in so nervous that I was not going to pass this training, and you know what, it actually felt really good to just be left to do it and just observed rather than them talking you through everything. It was a nice trial almost, so that they were there if something went wrong, but overall you were pretty much running it yourself. Another amazing thing about attractions is each ride will have something called a magical moment. A magical moment is what's called a task. So when you pull your slip and all the positions are filled, all the breaks have been taken, no one needs to clock out or anything, the system will automatically give you a task until something else is needed. So this can be anything from mundane stuff like sweep the queue or do a ride through, which is obviously quite fun and amazes guests because they're like, are you working? And I'm like, yep, this is my job, I'm just going on a ride. But it's not all fun and games. You do have to look out for technical issues, especially if you're on a very techie ride. Like I remember I rode through once and one of the screens was just black. So in that case obviously you report it and take the steps to fix that. Then you also get less specific tasks, things like entertain the guests in the queue, so you can go and talk to people. We had like a desk that I quite like to interact with, you know, pretend to be on the phone and immerse people in like the world of the attraction. Tasks are a lot more lenient. Obviously you're not relieving someone of a position, so if you notice something that, you know, has needed to be done for a while. For example, I might have pulled Go Play in ImageWorks, which is like the big playground, but I'm walking through and I see that the queue is just covered in popcorn. Obviously I'm going to take that time to clean the queue because that's more needed than going to ImageWorks. Or it might be a really hot day, so you go and check on your fellow cast members and see if anyone needs any water, because obviously once they're on a position, they can't move from that position. You have the freedom to go around and check on everybody, see if anyone needs anything, a toilet break, and they really do appreciate that. So tasks are great fun and they give you a well-needed break from quite a structured work day. But as I was saying, one of the tasks you can pull is called a magical moment. So each ride will have a specific way of doing it. For example, I had a different magical moment in the theatre to what I had in Figment. Just these little surprises for guests that to them will seem quite spontaneous, but they are very well planned. But they are so much fun to do. For the theatre, I had a spiel and I would get the child to help me do the spiel. They get to stand at the podium, they get a certificate, the parents can take pictures and stuff after. And then in Figment, it was a really elaborate one actually. They basically became a scientist for the day. So they got a lab coat with a name badge, they'd skip the queue entirely, they then get to go on a ride through with you, so you can go through on the ride and, you know, point out stuff that they might not have noticed, like little hidden Mickeys and things, have a bit of a laugh with them on the ride, like really get them into it. They also got to greet the next guest that came into the unload station, and they got a certificate as well. But those are so much fun because the whole family just like loses their mind. They're like, oh my god, something really special, and you're there like, I've had this planned. Another amazing thing about working on attractions is that when the ride closes down, someone has to go through and check there are no guests in there. So you get to walk through your ride with all the lights on and see all the behind the scenes stuff. You're normally given a tour of your ride in your training, but it is quite nice every now and then to be on a closing, you know, it's the end of a long day and you get to walk through and see all the little hidden things. One of the great things about working on attractions is that you get to talk to so many guests. It's very fast paced in attractions though, because obviously you want to get them in and out the ride, but you do have the pleasure of having a little chat with people, especially in roles like Doctor, where you get to stand at the front. You get to pin trade, you get to welcome them in, you know, help them out with fast passes and stuff, and you have more power than the guests assume. You are given guidance on what you're allowed to do to help out a guest and what you're not allowed to do, so as long as you work within those parameters, like, do your best to just make every interaction you have magical, because it's very easy to forget when you're in that Disney bubble that for some people this is the only time they are going to come to Disney. Some people have saved up for decades to go, so don't forget it. Just try and make every interaction as happy and as magical as you can. On the flip side though, because you have so many guest interactions, you will get a few bad ones, especially because some of the safety regulations guests will query, things like height restrictions, can they bring their strollers in, things like that. And this might cause a few difficult interactions. All you can do is obviously try and resolve the situation and make the guest leave happy. Just try and make the best of a bad situation. You'll be surprised at some of the stuff guests come out with. It's just because they care so much. At the end of the day as well, you're on a cultural exchange program, so make use of that. I was working with people from China, France, England, Canada, America, like all over the world. So get to know them, understand a bit about how they live their lives, how their society is different. You can ask those burning questions that you've always wanted to know. Ask them how they feel about, you know, living in America, because at the end of the day they're going through the same experience as you and they might have some of the same observations as you, which is always quite fun. If I could offer you any tip for working on attractions, it is know your attraction. Every attraction has a massive fan base. Disney's such a huge part of culture that people will have a love for your ride. Even if you think it is the worst ride in the world, people will love your ride. Guests seem to just think that cast members have this omniscient knowledge, and who are you to tell them that you don't know? Not you. Don't tell them that you don't know. If you don't know something, say, you know what? I will find out for you, and you go to the nearest cast member, or you use what's called a telecast, which is kind of like a cheat sheet in the back of your pocket. Before you even start, learn where the nearest toilet is, learn where like the main ride around you is. So I always had people asking me where Soarin' was, so learn the directions, and if you can, learn them in Spanish, because a lot of people there speak Spanish. I personally can't speak a word of Spanish, but I did learn specific terms that would help me communicate in some respect. It really, really helps, and they just appreciate that you're trying at the end of the day. So if you don't know something, find it out, make a note of the answer, and come up with what you're going to say the next time you're asked it. Remember that other cast members are there to help you, and you are there to help other cast members. So, you know, just have that mutual respect for each other, help each other out. If you don't know something, go and ask somebody. I'm sure they'll be willing to help. Remember that Disney is so safety orientated. That is the #1 priority at all times. If you're ever confused on how to make a decision, basically they have this thing called the 4 keys, which should kind of guide your decisions. It's like a hierarchy of morals that the company has, and safety is #1. Always consider what is the safest option first. If it doesn't concern safety, great, you start moving down the morals, but remember that safety is always should be like the front of your mind. All the time, safety. Like, turn into a hall monitor, because trust me, it will get you far. Right, hopefully you know a little bit more about the attractions role. If you're about to apply for the programme, or you've just found out that you've got attractions and you want to learn a bit more, then I really hope this helped you. If you've got any questions whatsoever, please leave them down in the comments. I love talking about Disney, so I will try and answer your questions. Good luck if you are about to go out, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you would like to see more content like this, I can talk for days about my programme. So do give it a like and hit the subscribe button, because I'm planning loads of videos. I upload a new video every week. I'm finally keeping to a routine with YouTube. Go me! So hopefully I will see you next week. Bye everyone!